everybody. Today I'm talking about Dusthana houses. This is part of the Masterclass, and the special subject today is the eighth house. Eighth house is known as Ayu Bhava. It is one of the challenging houses in our chart. How does it affect? How to deal with it? Hello, I'm Komilla Sutton, and we are talking Dusthana Houses Masterclass. And do remember to subscribe, press the bell notification. A lot of new information coming to you, so you don't want to miss out. So what about Dushthanas? Means negative, challenging, wrong placement. Sthana is place. So when you have a planet placed in 6th, 8th, or 12th house, then they are considered in Dusthana house. But these houses are there in everybody's chart, so we can't run away from it, and we have to learn how to deal with this situation. So whenever the planet is placed there, the planet will suffer in some way. So eighth house is known as Ayu Bhava. It is also known as Randhara. It is a difficult house. Eighth house is connected to Ayu, means how long you're going to live. But that's a very complex subject, and Jyotish can answer that, but it's not something that I deal with at all, because I don't want to make a mistake and then somebody is worried about it. And however, the knowledge is there in Jyotish, and in the traditional system, the first thing people used to look at is how old you're going to live. However, I work mostly in the West, and I have never looked at this. So I'm not an expert at it to look at how long you're going to live. But 8th house and planets in 8th house will also show long-term health problems. And especially if you have a planet in the 8th house, it is indicating to you that this planet is going to suffer from a long-term illness or whatever, according to the planet that is placed there. And then, we have to look at, again, with any consideration, you have to see how the lagna is, because the lagna is what is helping you to overcome the difficulties presented by the 6th, 8th, and 12th house. So how strong your lagna ascendant is, what are you doing to make it stronger, and how you are dealing with your life, what are your lifestyle choices. And then 6th house and 8th house and 12th house are there to oppose those things, and then we have to work with that. And so first you want to see that where the 8th house's place can bring sudden changes, transformation. So the general rule of Jyotish is that the 8th house ruler is Sama. He's not going to act. He will act like the other rulership. So you don't feel that the 8th house energy is so challenging. However, my experience is that wherever the 8th house ruler is placed, that area will get unsettled, sudden changes. So let's say if your 8th house ruler is placed in the 10th house of career, you will have unexpected changes in your career. Or if it is placed in the 4th house, unexpected changes of home, or you may even live abroad. If it's in the 1st house, your whole life is unsettled, or can suddenly, on a spin of a dice, can change. So, I do look at where the 8th house ruler is placed, and strength or weakness matters, but it's still got a role to play. So it is going to bring some transformation and change. 8th house ruler in the 8th house creates Sarala Yoga. And Sarala Yoga brings success and ability to overcome obstacles. This is a power position to have. It is part of the Viparita Raja Yogas. That means through opposition, you find success. And one strange thing about the 8th house is if you have Mercury placed in the 8th house, it can bring great inheritance, because 8th house is also the house of other people's money, unexpected inheritances as well. And so it could be a bonus, but often you've seen that Mercury in the 8th house, people inherit big money. Why is that? Mercury in the planetary cabinet is the heir apparent. That means he's the prince who's going to inherit all the wealth. So if he's placed in the 8th house, and this wealth comes during your lifetime, due to somebody passing, so therefore there's some sorrow attached to it as well, but you will see that Mercury in the 8th will bring that. Generally, benefics in the 8th house also will bring money. My Guruji used to say, if you have a benefic in the 8th house, the planet may suffer for health issues and all, but you'll always get some gifts or presents or things. But generally, I personally don't like having planets in the 8th house, because they have to go through some sorrow, some difficulty, because 8th house is the house of Nija dosha. Nija dosha means that some fault of your own in the past life that now you are dealing with, and why this planet has come into the 8th house. And therefore, we do need to make a remedy for it. And all planets, according to me, don't do well. Even Mercury in the 8th will bring the money, but it will still give the health problem. Saturn is supposed to be well placed in the 8th. It gives long life. That is there. Sarala Yoga, it can bring kind of power and ability to overcome power, but it still brings some issues. So, because 8th house is the unsettled, some karmic debts to pay. Now, I personally have my moon in the 8th house. And when I was younger, my mind was very unsettled and unsure. And this is one of the reasons that why I went towards Jyotish astrology, so that I could understand why do I suffering. But then through yoga, meditation, remedies, I find that now I don't even feel that, because I'm able to understand the quality and how to deal with it. But definitely yoga, puja, meditation, all those things have helped. Even donation has helped. So over the years, remember, I'm much older, so I've had a long life and I've been doing it for a long time. So don't expect instant results. But 8th house needs to be purified, and in a way that things that you have done in a past life which you don't remember, or maybe things you have done just now. Let's say if you think an analogy of a chair and it has one of its legs is broken, you don't know, and you sit on it, it'll suddenly you'll fall off it. Whereas if you know about it, you are fixing it, then it's solid again. So there's some weakness in ourselves, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, karmic, that 8th house represents. And especially if you have planets in the 8th house, then we need to do something about it. That is the main key. And 8th from the moon means that mind is going to feel that emotional suffering. 8th from the sun, the soul, your identity will feel that. So, there's 8th house from everywhere, but generally, we look at it from the ascendant, because that's the first thing that you study. So the main thing with the 8th house is that when you have planets there, 8th Lord, you need to think, you need to do remedy. And even if you don't have planets, you should be doing remedies. You're purifying yourself, improving yourself through life. Yoga, meditation, mantra chanting, doing karma yoga helps your 6th house, 8th house, 12th house. So you can do karma yoga, donating to good causes, being supportive. You're paying back your karma, something you have done which you don't maybe remember, that you are working towards it. Now, if you get the dasha of the 8th house, that is very complicated. Obviously, 8th house is unsettled. So what would be the planet that rules the 8th house, or planets placed in the 8th house? It is definitely giving you some unsettled energy. It can also highlight some health problems. The highlighting of the health problems doesn't mean that you can't do anything about it. It's just that it's telling you that these issues are possibility, not absolutely 100%, but you should do something. Of course, if you're older and you get the 8th house, then you have to definitely think about the health aspect. But generally, again, everything depends on how strong your Lagna Lord is. For health astrology, you have to look at the position of the Sun, Mars, Lagna Lord. These are the factors that are going to support your immunity, whereas 8th house is going to create some issues there. So if you get the dasha, the antara bhukti, the sub-periods of the dasha that are ruled either 8th house ruler or planets in the 8th house. Now, 8th house is one of the moksha houses. So it is also why you're transforming, you're changing yourself to find self-realization. So it has the transformation can elevate you to a higher self, to a more productive self. Of course, you can say that sometimes the 8th house is about research, secret knowledge. So a lot of people who are into astrology and all will have the 8th houses because, there's something deep that you're seeking and you want to transform it. And by transforming, you're raising your consciousness, you're raising your awareness. You see a lot of people with planets in the 8th house can be working for other people's money. So in financial markets, they can be working in research, in pathology, in secret knowledge, past life stuff, or, history, archaeology, those things as well. So what I'm trying to say to you is that it's not that you have planets in the 8th house. All of us have an 8th house Lord, but what are you doing about it? And when the timing is there, then 8th house is a very definitely you have to be conscious to the dasha. And then as far as transits are concerned, 8th house, Saturn's transit through your 8th house is always challenging. At the time of recording, Saturn is in the 8th house for Gemini Lagna. So it's a 2.5-year transit. This is a complex transit. Rahu Ketu transiting through the 8th house, 2nd house. This is a karmic aspect as well. The eclipses are taking place there. So, we have to watch all the 8th house transits. The faster moving planets don't stay very long in the 8th house. So it'll be a month or 2 months that we are paying attention. But it is the Saturn, Rahu, Ketu that you have to watch out for. So that is it for the 8th house. Do remember to subscribe, press the bell notification. Thank you.